Well, there are no survivors from a mid-air collision between a passenger jet and a Black Hawk military helicopter in the US. And it's now been revealed air traffic control tower at Ronald Reagan National Airport in Washington was understaffed on that day. Donald Trump has since announced an investigation into the collision and has blamed diversity hires for undermining air traffic control standards. Have a listen.
FAA's website states they include hearing, vision, missing extremities, partial paralysis, complete paralysis, epilepsy, severe intellectual disability, psychiatric disability, and dwarfism all qualify for the position of a controller of airplanes.
Joining me now is Sky News contributor Bo Davidson. Bo, good to see you. Thanks for joining me. Has Donald Trump jumped the gun on this?
Well, you know, Danica, at first I thought he had. I thought, why bring up DEI? But then I remembered that there were many air traffic controllers that applied and were denied simply due to the color of their skin. A little more than 10 years ago in the Obama administration, they denied about 1,000 air traffic controllers who were applying to be ATC controllers. And because you know why? They weren't diverse enough. Think about that. Let that sink in, because they weren't diverse enough. There's a great article in the Washington Times by Adam Laxalt where he litigated a class action lawsuit based on about 900 of these. And Reagan Airport, Danica, is a notoriously understaffed airport. So when you have only about 14,000 air traffic controllers nationwide, and you deny 1,000 of those air traffic controllers simply because they aren't diverse enough, that's a significant impact. So, you know, it's not necessarily that it was a diverse hire or a diverse employee who was the cause of this, but the DEI initiatives that were put in place that caused 1,000 air traffic controllers to be denied, that is responsible for this, because that caused Reagan Airport to be notoriously understaffed and had one person doing the work of two. I think it was avoidable, I think it was preventable, and I think it was inexcusable.
Yeah, it's interesting because I guess looking from afar, you think, how could this have possibly happened, particularly on approach to Reagan National Airport? Is this sort of decline in standards, is this what Donald Trump is indeed seeking to fix?
I think so. I think, you know, one, yes, it is a decay of professional standards, of course, especially in our government. Number two, though, I think these DEI initiatives that were at the FAA caused a dearth of capable, qualified employees. Number three, I have concerns about the communication between the air traffic controller and the helicopter pilot and the other pilots. Something was missing there. And this is actually reminiscent of something that happened back in 2000 as well. If there's not proper communication because there's one employee doing it and not two, that's a problem. And, you know, Reagan is one of the most congested airspaces in the United States. You have to think about military aircraft, civilian aircraft, domestic, commercial aircraft. And you have some of the biggest leaders coming through there, presidential travel, congressional travel, diplomatic travel. This is why I find it inexcusable that this would happen at this particular airport. But once again, this is why Donald Trump brought it up. DEI initiatives, and especially even going back to the Obama administration, are largely what caused these dearths of qualified employees that otherwise would have been there and could have made this entirely preventable.
Yeah, well, the investigation is going to be interesting. Now, let's move on, because Donald Trump's nominees for key roles, I've got to say, have performed outstanding once again at confirmation hearings this week, under questioning by unhinged Democrats. Have a look at this exchange between Trump's FBI director nominee, Kash Patel, and the Democrats.
On Joe Pack's podcast, he asked you, the Capitol Police in that fake January 6th committee, they didn't tell the truth, did they? Patel, no, not just them, many others. And lying under oath is a federal offense, and they should be investigated for it. Do you believe that about the police officers?
That's a general statement and a mischaracterization of what I said. I encourage you to read the rest of the interview. This is why snippets of information are often misleading.
Bo, I really like this guy. What have the hearings shown us so far?
Well, number one, I think Kash is handling this brilliantly. He knows their game better than they do. And that's important, because here's why. When you're the director of the FBI, you've got to be able to spot BS like this. You've got to be able to spot turncoats and people who are weaponizing and politicizing the system. That's exactly why the FBI is in this trouble in the first place, and why a guy like Kash needs to take it over. But if you look at those who've been confirmed so far, Rubio, Ratcliffe, Hegseth, Duffy, Zeldin, Bessent, Noam, these are people who are already making a difference in this administration. And if you look at that press conference that Donald Trump just did on this airplane crash, Duffy and Hegseth were present. They were already talking about what can we do to make our departments better. They were on top of their game. They're making immediate impacts. And that's quite a transition, Danica, from Lloyd Austin and Pete Buttigieg, their predecessors, who probably would have been looking at the situation like, well, I wonder if the FAA had a great Pride Month celebration. So it's quite a difference in impact in terms of who's been confirmed and what they're doing right now. I like Kash Patel. I like all the people that are going through their hearings currently, as difficult as they may be.